In many parts of Nigeria, the idea sounds unbelievable. To some, it sounds exaggerated. To others, it sounds like a myth, an internet illusion amplified by festive seasons videos. But across the southeast of Nigeria, from the rolling hills of Enugu to the flat plains of Anambra, from the red earth roads of Imo to the quiet farmlands of Abia and Ebonyi, one truth stands out and stands firm. Igbo mansions in the village are real. They rise silently behind tall gates. They stretch across compounds large enough to hold extended family meetings. They stand finished, painted, fenced, secured, yet often locked. And for outsiders looking in, the question is always the same. Why build something so big in a village? This documentary is not about architecture alone. It is about culture. It is about memory. It is about identity. It is about wealth without noise. And above all, it is about a people whose idea of success does not end in cities, but returns home. Drive through many Igbo villages today, and you will notice a striking contradiction. Narrow roads, yet massive gates. Quiet mornings, yet towering duplexes and triplexes. Farmlands beside fully tiled estates. These mansions are not half-completed dreams. They are not abandoned projects. They are not cinematic props. They are finished homes, often equipped with boreholes and water treatment systems, solar installations and standby generators, CCTV cameras and reinforced gates, landscaped compounds and paved driveways. Some resemble urban estates, others look like private resorts, yet many sit quietly for months. This silence has fueled misunderstanding because in modern society, we assume wealth must always be visible. We assume houses must be occupied daily to be meaningful. We assume investment must always generate rent. But Igbo Village Mansion operates on a different logic, one deeply rooted in history. Contrary to popular belief, most Igbo village mansions are not built by politicians. They are built by traders who started as apprentices, transport operators who grew fleets over decades, spare part dealers from Nnewi and Aba, importers from Onitsha main market, manufacturers, welders, distributors, and diaspora workers who live frugally abroad. Many of these builders never held public office. Many never appeared on Forbes lists. Many never trend online. Their wealth is quiet, accumulated patiently, sometimes over 30 or 40 years. This is not sudden money. This is not lottery wealth. This is long-term discipline. And when such wealth matures, it returns home. To understand Igbo village mansions, one must understand Igbo economic training. The Igbo apprenticeship system, Igbo Boy, has produced generations of entrepreneurs. Young boys leave home early. They serve masters for years. They learn trade, discipline, negotiation, patience. At the end, they are settled, not with handout, but with opportunity. This system creates people who avoid debt, understand cash flow, build gradually, think long term. So when they build houses, they do not rush. They build on stages. Foundation today, block work next year, roofing later, finishing when ready. The result, solid debt-free mansions. In Igbo culture, the village is not abandonment, it is origin. The village is where ancestors are buried, where lineage is traced, where land is inherited, not rented, where identity is confirmed. In Igbo land ownership in the village is absolute. No evictions, no landlord disputes, no government demolitions. A house built on ancestral land is permanent. To the Igbo man, success that does not return home is incomplete. There is a saying spoken quietly but understood deeply. Onye ju no na ya, or ju onwe. He who abandons his father's house abandons himself. Village mansions are also cultural insurance. They guarantee proper burial rights, family reunions, community respect, elder status. In Igbo society, burial is not cosmetic. It is spiritual and communal. A man without a home in his village risks being buried without dignity, losing ancestral recognition, family disputes after death. Thus, the mansion is not vanity, it is preparation. Critics often say they are empty. Nobody lives there. It's a waste. But these homes are seasonal cultural assets. They come alive during Christmas, New Year, Easter, August meetings, burial ceremonies, title-taking events. At these moments, entire families return. The silence disappears. The compound fills. The kitchens wake. The villages grow. These mansions are not daily shelter. They are cultural headquarters. Igbo village mansion fuels local economies quietly. They create mercenary jobs, welding businesses, electrical contracts, plumbing demand, sand and block markets. They improve road grading, local security, prestige of the community. A village with many mansions attracts better marriage prospects, infrastructure attention, commercial interest. Development does not always start with government. Sometimes it starts with returned success. Yes, critics exist. They ask, why not invest in factories? Why not build in Lagos? Why not rent it out? But these questions assume one definition of wealth. Igbo culture recognizes multiple forms of investment: social capital, cultural continuity, ancestral preservation, family unity. Not all wealth must yield rent. Some wealth yields belonging. Igbo mansions in the village are not myths. They are not exaggerations. They are not mistakes. They are monuments of patience. They are testimonies of return. They are evidence that progress does not erase roots. In a world obsessed with noise, Igbo wealth speaks softly. And in that silence, behind locked gates, under village skies, among ancestral lands, the truth stands tall. Igbo mansions in the village are real. If this story changed how you see Igbo villages, like this video, share it, and subscribe, because some stories deserve to be told properly.